It was late afternoon when the sun stretched long golden arms across the Dakota plains, painting the horizon with hues of amber, crimson, and soft lavender. The air was still, carrying only the gentle whisper of the tall prairie grass swaying with the summer breeze. The river nearby murmured its eternal song, winding through the land as it always had, reflecting the golden light as though it carried the sun itself. Yet, on its bank, the harmony of nature was broken by the sound of trembling cries. A woman sat slumped at the water's edge, her body weary, her spirit heavy, and her heart cracked open with grief. She clutched a tiny baby wrapped in a worn, faded blanket that had once carried the scent of home and warmth but now only held the weight of survival. Her cheeks were streaked with tears, and every drop that fell seemed to merge with the current, as though the river itself was drinking her sorrow. Her eyes were red, swollen from countless nights without sleep, and her lips moved softly in broken prayers, whispered to the wind, unsure if any spirit, any god, or even the river itself was listening. The woman had lost everything, her family, her shelter, her safety. She had carried herself and her child as far as her trembling legs allowed, searching for some place where the cries of her baby would not echo into emptiness. She was young, yet her face bore the lines of hardship, each etched deeper by days of hunger and nights of terror. Every sound in the distance made her clutch her child closer, fearing the cruel hand of fate would take the only piece of her heart left. It was then that the silence of the trees broke. From beyond the tree line, footsteps approached, slow but certain. The woman stiffened, her heart thudding in her chest as though it wished to escape. She turned sharply, her breath quick and shallow, eyes darting for an escape she knew did not exist. Out from the forest shadows emerged a figure, tall, broad-shouldered, and commanding. A Lakota warrior, his presence both quiet and overwhelming, stepped into the fading light. His long dark hair was braided, decorated with beads that caught the glint of the sun. His moccasins made no sound as he crossed the grass, but the earth seemed to recognize his weight. Across his back was slung a rifle, a weapon that carried with it the stories of countless battles, countless moments of defense and defiance. The woman froze. Her arms tightened around the baby, pressing its fragile body against her chest. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps, and for a moment, the world around her seemed to blur. She had heard stories of warriors like him, fierce, relentless, protectors of their land and people. And here she was, a stranger, broken and vulnerable, with nothing to defend herself but the shield of her own trembling arms. The warrior stopped a few paces from her, standing tall and silent. His dark eyes, sharp as the gaze of a hawk, met hers. But in them, she did not see the cruelty she feared. They were searching eyes, steady and unreadable, yet carrying a depth she could not quite understand. The cries of her baby filled the air, breaking the stillness between them, echoing off the water's surface as though even the river listened. For a long moment, the world held its breath. Then, slowly, the warrior shifted his weight. His hand moved toward the rifle slung across his shoulder. The woman gasped, clutching the child so tightly that the infant whimpered louder, the sound sharp against the evening quiet. But the warrior did not raise the weapon. Instead, he unstrapped it with deliberate calmness, knelt down, and gently laid the rifle on the ground at her feet. The gesture struck her like a lightning bolt, not of fear, but of revelation. It was not a threat. It was a surrender, a sign carved in silence more powerful than words. He came not as an enemy, not as a danger, but as something else she had long forgotten, hope. Her eyes darted from the rifle lying on the grass to his steady gaze. She could not understand why, but her tears slowed. The baby's cries softened, as though even the infant sensed the change in the air, the unspoken promise being offered. The warrior's face remained calm, his expression unreadable, yet there was something in his stillness that spoke louder than language. The woman's body trembled. Her hands shook as she adjusted the blanket around her child, her mind racing between fear and trust. Could she believe what she was seeing? Could she place her faith, her very survival, into the hands of this stranger? The warrior did not speak. Instead, he extended his hand toward her, palm open, steady, and unwavering. It was an invitation, not forced, not rushed. The kind of gesture that carried patience and respect, waiting for her choice. His hand bridged the vast distance between her world of grief and his world of strength. Her breath hitched. She looked at her baby, now cooing softly, its small fist gripping the edge of the blanket. Slowly, almost against the pull of her fear, she reached out. Her fingers, trembling as leaves in a storm, brushed against his. His hand was warm, strong, yet gentle as it closed slightly around hers. The river continued to flow, the golden light of the sun dipping lower, painting the sky in shades of fire and fading into soft twilight. In that moment, something shifted, not just between them, but within her. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, she felt a fragile thread of safety, of belonging. The warrior helped her to her feet. She clutched her child, still wary but no longer drowning in fear. They stood together at the riverbank, two souls bound by circumstance, their silence richer than words. He did not need to explain why he had laid down his rifle, she did not need to explain why she had been crying by the river. The truth was there, unspoken, flowing between them like the current beside them. As the stars began to emerge, pinpricks of light across the darkening sky, the warrior motioned gently, leading her toward a path that wound into the forest. She hesitated for only a moment before following. Each step carried a weight of uncertainty, yet also the faintest spark of trust. The baby rested peacefully in her arms, its tiny breaths syncing with the rhythm of her own heart. Sometimes, strength is not found in the weapon you hold, but in the choice to set it down. Sometimes, healing begins not in the words spoken, but in the silence shared. By the river's edge, under the watchful eyes of the fading sun, a new chapter began. Not of conquest or fear, but of understanding, trust, and the possibility of peace. The land carried their footsteps, the river carried their story, and the night carried their promise, that even in the harshest of times, compassion could be the most powerful act of all.